Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWS College Football Week 6 Thursday night action here. Got a Sun Belt game, we got Texas State Troy, and we got a Conference USA game, we got Sam Houston State UTEP. Gonna go through both of them in this video. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWS. The SWS. SWS. Hey, get the SWS.
First up, we got Texas State on the road at Troy. This one has dropped underneath 2 touchdowns now. I'm seeing 13.5, so I even see 13s out there. Total sitting at 57.5 or 50, mostly 57s actually. So take a look at the pie charts, and according to this data, action's coming in on the Troy side. Over 65% of the tickets, over 65% of the money coming in on Troy. But as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's get into this matchup, and we'll start with the heartbreak that was last week for Texas State. They were up 39-21. ESPN had their win probability at 96.4%. Well, the 3.6% happened because Sam Houston State came all the way back, won the game 40-39. Absolutely heartbreaking. And honestly, that's the second heartbreaking loss for this Texas State team so far this year, because Arizona State, they had a good shot of winning that game as well. So a couple of really tough breaks here for Texas State to start the season. Now they go on the road to play their first true road game. They were just 2-4 on the road last year, but I think we all know this Texas State team is a little bit different than last year. I mean, there's some high hopes entering the season for Texas State. So we'll start by taking a look at the offense. This is a pass-first offense. They're 40th in pass frequency. Obviously, we know this offense runs through Jordan McLeod, and the numbers are looking pretty good. Texas State's 34th in the country in yards per pass attempt, 15th in success rate per dropback, 29th in effective pass. Rushing numbers could be a little better, just 89th in effective rush, but Texas State is sitting at 57th in OFEI, which is obviously a great number for a Sun Belt program. McLeod's got some great numbers on the season, over 1,100 yards, 8.2 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's been great, big plays. Definitely, I know his turnover-worthy play rate says A+ here. If you watched him in that Arizona State game, he definitely threads the needle, puts the ball in harm's way a little bit. This turnover-worthy play rate indicates otherwise, but he does take risks. But overall, he's been great. Great playmaker for him. So how does he match up against this Troy defense? Well, something we have to keep in mind here, this is not last year's Troy defense. I mean, Troy had a great defense last year. Head coach Sumrall, gone. Gasparotto, the DC, he's gone as well. Not to mention, almost all of their pieces from last year's defense are gone. 129th in returning production on the defensive side of the ball, just 2 starters. This is a completely different defense than the Troy defense we saw last year that was pretty good. This year's Troy defense is 105th in DFEI, 100th in yards per play, 117th in success rate, really struggling against the run, struggling against the pass as well. They've gotten cooked through the air in all 3 of their home games, 9.4 yards per pass attempt allowed at home. And if you're wondering who they played, Nevada, Florida A&M, and Louisiana Monroe. Those are their 3 home opponents that are averaging 9.4 yards per pass attempt against them, over 45% success rate per dropback. For clarification, those 3 programs that went on the road into Troy and averaged 9.4 yards per pass attempt, their effective pass rankings, Nevada 120th, Florida A&M's an FCS program, Louisiana Monroe 131st. Now they play Texas State, who is 29th. So yeah, a major step up in competition for the Troy pass defense. Although we do have to mention that they actually played some solid defense on the road, played a couple road games. They went on the road to Memphis and actually played, I mean, to be honest, I think that was more Memphis offense laying an egg than Troy's defense playing a good game. But still, let's give them some credit. Regardless, I don't have a lot of faith in this defensive unit. I mean, they don't have a pass rush, 81st in pass rush grade, 114th in sack rate, 107th in pressure rate, and it's not like they've played a grueling schedule. They're not generating pressure. Texas State has been excellent in terms of pass protection, 10th in pass block rate, 11th in sack rate allowed, 6th in pressure rate allowed, 11th in hurry rate. They've done a great job protecting McLeod, and it gets worse than that because even if Troy is able to generate some pressure, Jordan McLeod's been one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country at handling pressure. A+ across the board when pressured this year. So Jordan McLeod should have time in the pocket. He should have the big talent advantage here over the Troy defense. Coming off the heartbreaking loss, should be a big game for Jordan McLeod. I mean, on paper, Texas State's offense should do whatever they want here. against Troy's defense. And as far as running the ball, I mean, Texas State hasn't had the best rushing attack this year, but Troy's run defense has gotten trampled anytime they've seen a decent program. I mean, Nevada, Memphis, and Iowa. Iowa's understandable. That's a good rushing attack. But Nevada and Memphis, I mean, in those 3 games, they allowed over 6.5 yards per carry, over 236 rushing yards per game. Almost a 56% success rate. So yeah, this Troy run defense has really struggled as well. Granted, they have looked good in their last couple weeks, but they played Florida A&M and Louisiana Monroe. So again, I think Texas State offensively should do whatever they want here. But what about on the other side? Let's talk about the Trojan offense. And I mean, good luck trying to figure this unit out. They're 33rd in run frequency. That could be due in part to the fact that they've had a carousel at quarterback. There's some injuries. They've been switching guys on and off. Here are their offensive numbers on the year. They're 88th in yards per play, 77th in success rate, 74th in OFEI. So I guess it's not practical joke terrible. They've had 3 different quarterbacks lead the team in pass attempts in a game. Again, partially due to injuries. Goose Crowder is supposed to be the guy. And when he's played, he really hasn't looked that bad. Over 69% completions, 8.7 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns. Their other kid is Kilcrease, and they also have Caldwell. Now, last week against ULM, Goose Crowder left the game with an injury. Then Kilcrease came in. He also left the game with an injury. They're both listed as game time decisions entering this game. So it might be Caldwell at quarterback here, who would technically be the 3rd string. He comes from... He's from an FCS program. I don't know anything about him. So yeah, there's definitely a big question mark here at quarterback for Troy. It could be any of 3 guys starting there. I don't think anyone knows for sure. If you have any information on that, leave it in the comments. I couldn't find anything. But anyway, let's talk about the Texas State defense. 26 in yards per play, 39th in success rate, 39th in PPA. Service level numbers don't look that bad. But if you look at some advanced metrics, 95th in DFEI, 98th in effective rush, 89th in effective pass. I mean, their defensive numbers might be a bit skewed from when they beat the life out of UTSA. In their other games, the defense didn't look that great. The offense is definitely the strength of the team. But again, we're talking about the Troy offense. So I don't even know what kind of defense is even required to shut this offense down. We don't even know who's playing quarterback. Troy's offensive line is certainly not generating push on the season. They're doing a better job as of late, and I'll show you in a second. Their offensive line numbers, though, 102nd in line yards, 106th in stuff rate, 133rd in run blocking grade. But if you look at their rushing numbers from the first 3 games, 3.46 yards per carry, 105 rushing yards per game. The last 2 games, 5.36 yards per carry, 206.5 rushing yards per game. But those last 2 games were against Louisiana Monroe and an FCS program. So, shit, I hope they were able to run the ball a bit. And you know what? If you're looking to bet Troy here, you can say this Texas State run defense is trending in the wrong direction also. So, Troy's run game's trending upwards. Texas State's run defense trending downwards, I guess. In their first 3 games, they had an elite run defense, just 2.32 yards per carry, 78 rushing yards per game. Then last week against Sam Houston State, 5.36 yards per carry allowed, 300 rush yards. So maybe you could be like, hey, this Texas State run defense got exposed. I'll go with Troy. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here trying to give you something. Personally, it would only be Texas State for me here, but full disclosure, I don't know anything about that quarterback Caldwell. Maybe he's really good. I really don't know, so I can't really... You make your own decisions. I'm probably just going to lay the 13 with Texas State. Clearly, there's some sharp action coming in on the Troy side to buy this number down. So maybe there's some professional bettors taking Troy here. But for me, I'll just lay the 13 with Texas State. Next game, Sam Houston State on the road at UTEP. This line is now down to 10. Looks like it's been bought down from 10.5. Total sitting at 50.5. Mostly there are a couple 50s out there if you look. Let's take a look at the pie charts, and according to this data, action's coming in heavy on the Sam Houston State side. Over 75% of the tickets, over 70% of the money on the Bearcats. So no question, Sam Houston State looking like the heavily bet side. But as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's get into this matchup. These 2 teams did play last year. Sam Houston State's first year in the FBS, first year in Conference USA. They were actually favored in the game. They were laying 3. UTEP won outright. 37-34 was the final score. So obviously went way over the total. So how do we feel about this year's matchup? Well, as we just talked about in the last game, Sam Houston State coming off the miracle comeback. 96.4% was Texas State's win probability. We just talked about it. Don't need to go through again. Sam Houston State comes back, wins 40-39. This Sam Houston State offense, man, First of all, it's looking weirdly good. 10th in run frequency, 31st in pace. So they're running the ball. And in the last few weeks, it's starting to pick up. They're actually doing a pretty good job running the ball. And the reason that's so strange, I mean, if you look at the numbers, 50th in yards per carry, 48th in effective rush. The reason that's crazy, I'm almost positive Sam Houston State was 133rd out of 133 in effective rush last year. So advanced metrics, I believe, had Sam Houston as the worst rushing attack in college football last year. Now they're sitting at 48th in effective rush, 50th in the country in yards per carry. Now they don't have much in terms of a passing attack. I know Hunter Watson made some throws in that Rice game, but as a whole, I mean, there really hasn't been much of a passing attack here with Sam Houston State. The last few weeks, it's been about the run. We didn't even know Hunter Watson was going to be the quarterback coming into the season. They brought in Jace Bauer from Central Michigan. I think we all expected him. I mean, he transferred there to be the starting quarterback, or at least we thought he was going to be the starting quarterback. But no, I guess Hunter Watson ended up winning the job. But it really, I mean, Sam Houston State, like I said, it's been about the run game. They pretty much only run the ball, and recently the run game's just getting going. And if you check this out, first two games were on the road for Sam Houston State, just 3.28 yards per carry. So the run game really didn't get off to a good start. In fact, it was looking pretty ugly. 26.3% success rate in those first two games, both on the road. Since then, they've played 3 home games, and they're averaging 5.39 yards per carry. Now, the success rate is still down at 32.5%, meaning they've broken some long runs to make these numbers look a little bit better than they are, but still, over 280 rushing yards per game, 5.39 yards per carry. Can't really argue with that. So will they be able to continue this rushing onslaught on the road here at UTEP? Well, UTEP's defense, I mean, the number's not looking great. 81st in yards per play, 107th in success rate. Against the run, they're 108th in effective rush, 91st in yards per carry. Not looking great here for UTEP. Obviously, the embarrassing moment, week 2 at home against an FCS program. They lost that game outright. Southern Utah averaged 5.7 yards per carry, ran for 268 yards in the game. So that was just rock bottom for Scotty Walden and this UTEP team. I will say, though, since then, they've gone on the road twice, 2 very tough opponents, Colorado State and Liberty, both on the road. They were catching 23.5 points and I think 9 points in those 2 games. So these are teams that they're supposed to lose to, and the defense actually put forth a much better effort. Now, they didn't shut these teams down, but just 27.5 points per game allowed in these 2 games. They covered in the Liberty game. The final score was only 28-10. They were catching 23.5 points and held Liberty to 28 points. So that's a successful defensive effort there. So they're coming into this one off a back-to-back solid defensive performance. I mean, they didn't get lit up in either of these games, both tough road games that they're supposed to lose. Then they had a bye week. Now they start conference play against Sam Houston State. I think this UTEP defense does have a little bit of momentum. I think they got some confidence back. Also, we mentioned before, Sam Houston State, yeah, they were averaging, 5.3, 5.4 yards per carry in their 3 home games. Now they're back on the road. Their first 2 games of the season were on the road. They were averaging just 3.3 yards per carry. So Sam Houston State back on the road. Success rate indicates that run game's been a little bit lucky. I think UTEP defense is going to put forth a solid effort. Now, they're not going to shut Sam Houston State down. That offense is looking pretty explosive, but don't be surprised if UTEP's defense puts forth a decent effort. But what about the other side? What about UTEP's offense? Well, they're sitting at 10th in pass frequency. They've done a lot of throwing of the football. Could be because they've been down on the scoreboard pretty often. The offensive numbers look awful. They're 125th in OFEI, 118th in yards per play, 115th in success rate. I mean, they can't run the ball at all. 125th in yards per carry, 128th in effective rush. This UTEP offense has been pretty disappointing across the board this season. But now we have a quarterback change. Skylar Locklear wins the job in camp, which I was surprised at because Cade McConnell last year, I thought he played pretty well. I thought he was going to be the starter. Apparently, Skylar Locklear won the job. But then last week, on the road at Colorado State, at halftime, UTEP has 3 points on the board. Finally, Scotty Walden points to Cade, puts the GOAT back in. Cade McConnell in the second half on the road against Colorado State, 19 of 29, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 152 passer rating. In case you're new to Conference USA football and you don't remember Cade McConnell from last season, so last year, UTEP had all kinds of problems at the quarterback position. Their main guy, I actually forget his name, he got hurt in the opener right before week 1, so they had their backup in. And then their backup got hurt, and then their third string got hurt. So entering the FIU game, Cade McConnell was going to get the start, and he was, at the time, the 4th string quarterback. So we all everybody, all of us on YouTube, we all bet FIU. We're like, dude, this is the 4th string quarterback. He went into that FIU game and threw for like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, was airing it out, throwing bombs. And from that point on, he was the starter. And UTEP's passing attack was already, I mean, I'm not going to say UTEP had a dangerous passing attack, but he really wasn't bad. That's why I was surprised when he didn't win the starting job this year. So last week, they throw him back in at halftime. Offense comes out, moves the ball down the field. They actually brought it back to 1 score. It was 24-17 in the 4th quarter for a little bit there. So he brought the team all the way back, and he's officially been named the starter in the Sam Houston State game. So he's the starting quarterback now. He's back. He's got the job back. I think that comes with some energy. I mean, how many times have we seen that in football? An offense looks dead. They make a quarterback change, and all of a sudden, everybody starts playing better. Everyone starts playing with confidence. This is their guy. This is their quarterback last year. Their season was looking pretty terrible. Cade McConnell, the 4th string, takes over. They end up winning a couple games. They beat FIU. They beat this Sam Houston State team as underdogs, so they ended up winning a couple games. I think Cade McConnell back at quarterback brings new energy to the offense. But he's definitely going to have his hands full in this one because Sam Houston State's playing some solid defense. They're sitting at 50th in yards per play allowed, 71st in yards per carry allowed, 27th in yards per pass attempt allowed, 46th in effective pass. So Sam Houston State's been playing great defense against the pass, which isn't good news because UTEP hasn't really shown us they can run the ball yet. And with Cade McConnell in there, you would imagine they're going to come out slinging the ball. And it's not like this Sam Houston State defense hasn't seen any passing attacks. I mean, they saw Rice. They have E.J. Warner. UCF, I mean, that's pretty much a run for his program to the maximum. But K.J. Jefferson can throw it. They saw Hawaii. That program can always throw it. Texas State with Jordan McLeod. So they've seen some quarterbacks, too. It's not like they've played anybody. Yeah, if you look at the effective pass rankings, UTEP is, I think, sitting at, 92nd. So they will be one of the tougher passing attacks they've seen on paper in terms of advanced metrics. But still, no question, Sam Houston State has seen some quarterbacks, and they've played well, except for the Texas State game last week because McLeod cooked them. 326 yards through the air, 8.4 yards per attempt, over 61% success rate per dropback. So McLeod was doing whatever he wanted on the Sam Houston State pass defense last week. Now, we should point out, in the other 4 games, they played elite defense against the pass, but definitely don't love the fact that they're coming off a game where they got roasted in the secondary, and now Cade McConnell takes over the quarterback job at UTEP. Maybe he's going to make some throws, and he should have time in the pocket to do so because Sam Houston State's pass rush hasn't been anything special. 113th in sack rate, 99th in pressure rate so far this year. UTEP's offensive line has actually been pretty good in pass protection, 74th in sack rate, 75th in pressure rate allowed. So I think McConnell's going to have time to throw here, and I think he's going to make some plays like we saw him make last year. There's no way I'm laying 10 points with Sam Houston State here. I'm on UTEP. I took the 10. Let's go Miners. I think they're live. Now, a couple disclaimers here. Number 1, I've been struggling with college football recently, so please tail responsibly. And number 2, I like this UTEP team. I liked them last year. I like McConnell, so I don't know if I'm being 100% objective, but I think there's something to be said about UTEP coming off the bye week, Sam Houston State coming off the miracle comeback. You catch them napping. UTEP live. Give me the 10. UTEP plus 10. If you want to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone on the staff here. Also, if you sign up for Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 on one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. So if you're interested, head over to the website and sign up. Live show Saturday morning. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a Thursday game. Live show 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go through these games. We'll go through the NFL games, or the NFL game, I should say. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a good college football week 6. College football's been crushing me. Hopefully that turns around. Please remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.